no lives matter. This is a straight war, I'll be real with you. It's war, we're at war. This isn't like, they say there's no friends at war. So I respect the guy, as you said, he's done well, all that good stuff, but we're fighting.
To fight? Not as of yet, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to go get my head bashed in. Sparring is sparring, and we can see some sort of technicality being shown. Now, a lot of people are calling it fake. They're saying that it's set up.
Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, some of the best the sport's got in the heavyweight division. And he said there's no way these guys are actually going in there and sparring to the full extent. Look, you're a fighter. You've had so many camps throughout your life. Do you think Jake is almost asking them to go easy, or do you think this is proper sparring going on?
The point of sparring is to learn. The point of sparring is not for them to get in there and give Jake a concussion so he can't.
Jake Paul's recent run of knockout-heavy sparring clips has sparked one of the loudest debates boxing has seen in years. Not because people doubt his commitment, but because many within the sport believe the footage paints a misleading picture of where he truly stands. What might look like dominance to casual viewers has raised red flags among fighters, trainers, analysts and journalists who have spent their lives inside gyms and rings.
Yeah, definitely. He's always wanted to be a boxer. He's got a stand-up game. I respect him as a boxer.
Anthony Joshua himself addressed the situation with a tone that mixed honesty and restraint. He acknowledged Paul's ambition and said he respects anyone willing to put themselves through the grind of boxing. But he did not mince words when discussing sparring clips that show knockdowns without context. Joshua emphasized that real sparring is not about viral moments or highlight reels.
Battered. He's going to get absolutely preaching to the choir, bro. Annihilated. Yeah, take it to just as they turn to the side. That's it, just there. And watch Jake. He looks at him, keeps looking, and then Joshua looks back. Yeah. Jeez. Great.
That skepticism is shared by analysts who reviewed the clips frame by frame. Several pointed out that the reactions of Paul's sparring partners often appear exaggerated, with fighters drifting toward ropes or corners after relatively modest punches. In professional gyms, heavyweights who are truly hurt tend to react instinctively, either clinching, firing back, or dropping immediately.
I agree with that. If we're going to see that clip of you knocking this guy down, we want to see at least a full round. We want to see what you're actually doing. If you're going to show us knocking this guy down, show us more. Is his opponent any good? Okay, that's another very good question. His opponent may just be, and we couldn't really see much of him there. He didn't really throw a shot. His opponent might be a nobody. His opponent might be a guy who started box fit a few weeks ago. So that's a very good point. It's things like this we have to actually ask when we, boxers essentially putting up videos of them knocking people out. Who is this guy? You need to know that, because then that kind of qualifies that knockout or knockdown to be good or bad.
Andrew Tate added fuel to the debate by explaining the unspoken rules of high-level sparring. Tate argued that when elite heavyweights are brought into a camp as paid partners, their job is not to destroy the fighter they are helping prepare. Their responsibility is to give specific looks, test certain reactions, and leave the gym without derailing the fight financially.
That's everything wrong with the sport.
I think as a boxing purist, it's quite upsetting to watch, young fighters struggle to pay the bills and struggle in little shithole gyms around the country trying to get big money fights and going through the Olympics and going through the amateurs and not being able to pay their bills. And I understand how frustrating that can be. So I think that's where the frustration comes from. I don't think it's everything that's wrong with boxing. I think that anything that gets people to tune in to a boxing match is good for the sport.
One more comment that he said was, Jake's been sparring Frank Sanchez, Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, some of the best the sport's got in the heavyweight division. And he said there's no way these guys are actually going in there and sparring to the full extent. Look, you're a fighter. You've had so many camps throughout your life. Do you think Jake is almost asking them to go easy, or do you think this is proper sparring going on?
The point of sparring is to learn. The point of sparring is not for them to get in there and give Jake a concussion so he can't fight. So are they trying to knock Jake out? No. But are they giving him enough work for him to learn?
Gareth A. Davies, who has covered heavyweight boxing for decades, was blunt in his assessment. Drawing from his first-hand experience watching Joshua dismantle elite opponents, Davies warned that Paul has never faced anything remotely comparable.
Go on, I watched him knock out Francis Ngannou inside 2 rounds.
Yeah.
How can that go 3 rounds with Jake Paul?
It's very hard to knock out somebody that just hasn't come to fight. It's somebody that's just trying to survive. And that's what I think will happen to Jake Paul.
Do you think he'll run?
I think he'll run like a thief in the night. Once he sees the size of Joshua, those little 10-ounce gloves that they're going to be wearing, he's going to be petrified and his backside will fall out.
I went to the press conference in Miami for that a couple of weeks ago, and he was planning to motorboat AJ, and he thought differently of it when he was standing with
Good
him.
luck with that, mate.
No, AJ was, he'd have got motorboated out of there.
Listen, mate, listen. Good luck with that, because if he starts out with AJ, puts his chin out and starts trying to goad him in, I think Anthony Joshua will definitely iron him out early.
Do you think he finishes his boxing career then?
Let's hope so.
If Jake Paul does something weird and wins, is that impossible?
Nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Highly unlikely, but not impossible.
If you'd been invited to fight Jake Paul for 25, I've heard it's 25 million. That's me behind the scenes. Other people have told me it's 60. Other people have told me it's more for Anthony Joshua. If you had been a current world champion and you'd been offered that fight with Jake Paul, would you have taken it?
100%.
So he had to take it.
He had to take it.
So you've got nothing against him taking it?
I've got nothing against him taking it, spending the money even. Still got nothing against that. My concern is for the health and safety of Jake Paul and the sport of boxing.
Because boxing will be pulled into the dock if something happens to Jake. It would never have been licensed.
While names like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez and Lawrence Okolie carry legitimate weight in the division, critics argue that none of them truly replicate Joshua's specific threat profile. Anderson is viewed as a movement-based fighter who relies more on timing than raw force.
Scott did it or something like that. Like, even if you, especially if you see a replay, sometimes it happens so fast. Like, if it's a replay, usually like, oh, there's the one, or like you get a reaction when someone gets hit. You're not like, oh, I wonder if. Like, if you're questioning it, then typically the fighter gave in or decided to kneel down or push himself out of the ring or wanted to get out of the fight. You can tell right away. Like, when I land a body shot on somebody or when I got hit by a body shot, you could tell. I don't know, you guys can make your own assessment, but to me, this is a little sketchy. To me, the person he was boxing, obviously.
Jake Paul, for his part, has not backed down. He has openly discussed the physical toll of training, admitting that his nose shifted slightly after taking shots from Frank Sanchez. Rather than sounding concerned, Paul framed this as proof of legitimacy.
Was his move a couple millimeters to this camp? I'm not gonna lie, this sparring, the heavyweights, my nose have slight little something in there. A guy by the name of Frank Sanchez, he definitely cracked it a little bit. But yeah, man, it's bad. Wait, hold on. Look at that, dude. It's like Squidward, dog. But don't respect me for getting in there. Respect me when I beat his ass. I'm not just walking into a fight. I'm going to win. That's what's gonna shock the world. I will become the king of boxing.
BJ Flores, who has worked closely with Paul in the past, offered a more nuanced perspective. Flores acknowledged that on paper, the fight looks wildly uneven. Anthony Joshua's Olympic pedigree, championship experience, and physical dimensions dwarf anything Paul has previously faced.
Very, very tough fight. And, you know, to anybody in the industry, you know, Anthony Joshua is a world champion, a gold medalist. This is a big difference from, you know, anybody else that, you know, Jake's fought in the past. But, you know, he's looking for these big challenges. He wants to fight the toughest guys. And I think with Anthony Joshua, he got exactly that. I mean, Anthony Joshua is a guy I would have never dreamed in a million years Jake would have fought him in his fifth year boxing in a fight situation like this. I thought he would have given it a little more time, but I mean, this is an extremely difficult fight. Anthony Joshua's 6'6", 245 pounds, extremely dangerous, gold medalist, world champion, and I think this is a very, very difficult fight for Jake. So I wouldn't have made this fight, no.
What do you give it in terms of percentage-wise? Like 60% AJ wins, 40% Jake Paul wins, or 50-50, 70-30? How do you give it?
Well, I mean, you got to go up when you go off the resumes. That's what I go off of. You know, a lot of people will say potential, like, you know, oh, this could happen, this could happen. I only go off like who's beaten who. So if you look at it on paper, it doesn't look like Jake has any chance on paper. But I think that's probably why he wanted to make this fight. And like I said, I'm not in the camp, so I don't know all the you know, the conversations that are going on in camp Jake Paul right now. But on paper, this looks like an extremely difficult fight. And any boxing experts, you know, that I've talked to, whether it's former fighters or whoever, just they don't give Jake any chance at all. I'm not saying he doesn't have any chance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, you know, everybody in the know-how as far as the boxing world, they're like, Jake has zero chance to win this fight. And, you know, it is on paper, though. It does seem like it's early. And it does, you know, seem like it's premature, in my opinion.
So what are you giving it then? A 90-10?
You know, like AJ's had, I don't know, probably I want to say 30.
Joey Knight explained that Paul understands how attention, controversy, and scale translate directly into leverage, regardless of the outcome. From that angle, the fight can be seen as either a career-defining triumph or a calculated cash-out.
A cash, maybe not as much as the Anthony Joshua fight, but a lot of cash, and can still have a serious chance of going on to earn even more paydays. Whereas the damage that it could do to his body could be irreversible for that opportunity to earn money in a boxing career going forward. So is this the retirement bag? Or do you actually think you can win? Because I read a study recently, and I believe it said something along the lines of men overemphasize or overcalculate their ability to fight by about 500 times. And I'm saying Jake Paul would probably need to be 500 times better to stand a chance against Anthony Joshua. And I can't get how he doesn't already know this. Surely he has sparred with heavyweights. Surely the recent sparring that he had with the likes of Shakur Stevenson and with the likes of Ray Ford, amongst others, Badu Jack, surely that would have taught you that there are levels to boxing. And if these small guys are able to show you things that you had no idea that you were vulnerable to in a boxing ring, what happens when someone who hits 4, 5, 6 times as hard as that does the exact same thing to you and lands it on your chin? The whole reason of why I know where I am in the influencer boxing scene, in the misfit scene, is because of the level that I have sparred at. I've sparred boys that have gone on to box for world titles. I've sparred with English champions, and I've sparred with...
Michael Buffer added a broader cultural lens. He noted that Jake and Logan Paul have undeniably expanded boxing's audience by drawing in younger fans who might never have watched a traditional title fight. Buffer acknowledged the discomfort this creates among purists, but argued that exposure and conversation keep the sport alive.
And Logan, first of all, are fantastic athletes. You know what Logan does with the WWE and what Jake does with boxing. He knocks people out and everything. And they both have massive fan bases. And for me, it's great to see people get young people that follow them, that didn't have like, you know, they don't remember Ali or Joe Frazier or whatever. It's not in their wheelhouse. So it's great to see them developing fight fans and a big fight atmosphere. So it's very exciting.
These two stood face to face, and the comment section on the internet was going crazy. They were like, call the ambulance now, basically. Like Anthony Joshua looks dangerous standing next to him.
Anthony Joshua is, at this time, and has been for years, the biggest puncher in boxing. He's a devastating puncher. So I got to give Jake a lot of credit for wanting to take this fight.
Yeah, it's not. A lot of people saying it's not smart. If he somehow was able to surprise the world, what does this do for him?
The word would be surprised if he shocked the world. But that's exactly why you got to give him credit. He wants to do it. He trains hard, he works hard, and he has a lot of faith in himself. So we'll see what happens.
Technically, though, what's the biggest concern for you? What's the biggest tip you can give Jake, knowing that you've watched Anthony so many times?